Our first play of the video starts leading up to the 4th dragon of the XL vs Mad game on day 1. XL have secured 3 dragons so far and they're just off establishing vision over river with about 40 seconds left for the soul dragon to spawn. 40 seconds does mean that XL need to maintain presence in mid and they end up losing control in river over it. Denik only has 1 ward left at this point, so it would be nice to get him a reset and refresh that. Humanoid tries to cut him off with a nice Aurealt as he walks into mid, so now he's chunked and he really has to reset. There's only 30 seconds left, and this is ocean map, so it's difficult to re-establish control over the river quickly. So there's really no time to waste getting your reset cancelled. Denik, however, completely greeds his resets. It would have been safe to recall somewhere above the lane and red side jungle, maybe also behind the tier 2. But despite being able to see Mad advance and pressure the lane, he tries a second greedy recall again. He ends up channeling his last recall with only 18 seconds left as he starts the channel. He could have channeled with about 28 seconds left. If we pause on the dragon spawn timer, we can estimate roughly where Denik would have been had he channeled one of those safe recalls with 28 seconds left for the spawn. He would have been in a position to threaten Mad as they start the dragon. XL really could have had an opportunity to get his reset off and contest the soul point. The 4th worst play goes to G2 in their day 2 game versus Rogue. Inspired is starting this Herald on spawn. He's out of vision, but the Scarecrow tips G2 off, and especially when G2 sees Larson hovering here, it should be obvious Rogue is going for the Herald. While that is happening, Hans is channeling a recall in the bot side. He's on a ward, so G2 have the exact timer on this recall. You'd think it would be a pretty obvious time for G2 to just go to the dragon, secure it, and it would be completely uncontested. But instead, Jankos goes for the Wraith camp, chillings a bit with Mickey in the jungle, I guess. They seem to look for a dive in bot, though Hans Summer's nowhere near lane yet, and keep in mind G2 have the exact timer on the recall, so they should estimate pretty well where what timer he arrives at lane. Jankos probably reads this actually and decides to change plans and go for the dragon instead. Reckless has a nice wave to crash, so Hans will be occupied for a while. Aurea's prio, so this is really the perfect chance. They're even still in the time window they have that Inspired would arrive to the dragon, based on his timer that he secured Herald. But instead of backing off and going for the dragon, Reckless decides he wants to play up in the lane as Varus against a Blitzcrank. Mickey doesn't set up for a good lantern either, and Reckless grades his flash, he gets hooked, and Jankos needs to bail him, so that's 1 dragon window down the drain. Next up is Rogue in their day 1 game versus Misfits. Rogue are looking for this topside hover, maybe trying to bait Misfits into fighting with the Fiddle and Morg shadowing Draven. Misfits do have good topside vision though and don't take the bait. Instead they look for rotation onto Odo, so Trimby has a moment to establish vision around the Baron here. Misfits return from their rotation. Colby gets prio in mid, and Misfits are clear to re-establish vision in the jungle here. Razork deep rotates though, so he's off vision this whole time, but Syndra shows on vision, Alistar does, and then Kai'Sa does too. Inspired and Trimby, however, continue to channel their resets without Hans, despite knowing at least 3 people are here in the top side. Even without the TP by Hirit, it's quite likely Hans gets caught here. All in all, a completely unnecessary risk. In second place, we revisit XL with another risk versus reward play, this time in their day 2 game versus Fnatic. XL look for this late invade onto the red buff with volley against Rumble. Whippo starts his race quickly, then joins Adam to fight for the red buff, and just smites the red away from under Dan's nose. This is obviously a complete disaster for Dan. He's going to be extremely slow on his clear, but let's say for the sake of example, Whippo just concedes the red buff and Dan gets it. Would the outcome have been much better? Honestly, not really. Maybe we deny Whippo's red buff, right? But now Rumble can just go into his bot side and power farm like normal. If Dan goes for Whippo's Krugs, Fnatic will know based on this ward placed by Adam, and Whippo gets to take much of XL's bot side. Niski is mid prio, Upset should get bot prio as well, so it should be pretty safe for him to get at least the Wraiths and the red buff in return. Absolute worst case for Fnatic is that Whippo gets to full clear but loses his red buff. Dan will be slower on his clear from having to path around the map, and Fnatic will still have prio on his bot side, so Whippo should at least get the crab there. All in all, it's just a really pointless coin flip that ends up costing Dan a huge amount in this early game. For the worst play of the week though, we are back in the Rogue vs Misfits game. Misfits at this point have Baron and a 4 Dragon Infernal Soul. consider the comps too. The only possible way for Rogue to win at this point is by Misfits giving them the perfect fiddle ult, and by perfect, I really mean perfect. Every single member of Misfits has to get one shot, maybe aside from the Alistar. Misfits go for this push on the bot lane, destroying the tier 2, and then they do exactly, to every slightest detail, the only play that can lose them the game. They give Inspired a perfect fiddle ult. How they don't respect this fog of war right across the wall is really beyond me. This should have gotten warded. It would have gotten warded in a Diamond solo queue game, honestly. Hell, even a Platter or Gold player would know something is up here. Instead, it's just the biggest L on the planet. They lose the game off of it. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting. Feel free to comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions. Also consider leaving a like and subscribing. I have a Riven montage coming up and some other content I'd like to do later in the year. For now, I hope you enjoy your summer holidays, stay safe, and catch you in the next one.